So I'm not gonna try to keep this as quick as we can. But yeah, basically I'm looking for those 4 hour zones. I'm gonna redo them here. So a couple things come to mind right away, and it's right down here, right? So what I'm using is the magnet feature and then the horizontal line. And all I'm looking for here are just areas that connect, and this makes, this looks good. A lot of times that will line up with the, with the supply and demand, which kind of makes sense if you think about it, right? Like these are supply and demand. It's just they're not as specific, right? They don't have to be on a certain candle. They don't have to, be consecutively or consecutive as far as going back for the candles and above or below price or whatever, right? What I'm looking for are areas of consolidation. So like obviously, like looking at this chart, we came up here, we peaked, we dropped, right? That's telling me there's probably an area up here. So let's just pop a line on that. And immediately I look across and I see, yep, we interacted with it here, we interacted with it here, yep, we interacted with it back here. But before I even move on a lot, you can check back that way too. I want to complete my thought. That's one of the big things. I want to put the second half of the zone on. Right now, you can always adjust these, so just keep that in mind. But the reason for that is I don't get all kind of twisted up trying to figure out what's what, right? And I think I do want to adjust this actually. I kind of want to see two things here, right? See how this pushes up, big, bold, and then it stops? Obviously it starts to taper off, gets the pullback. To me, that tells me that, okay, like probably right up here, yeah, and looking where we pulled back here, that's probably a, part of the zone, one way or the other, right? Now the question is, okay, does that make that the bottom of the zone? Possibly, right? That's probably what it's going to be, actually. Because the only other option I could see is coming up here and doing this. Let's see how that looks across the board. Oh, here's a good indication. This guy right here. So and this here. So this is a perfect example. When you see this, right, we got the line from, to the right that you can't see now, but deciding like, oh, does the second part of the zone, right, does it go down here or does it go up here? When I see this, I chose to the top, but then as we look over, this is a confirmation, and then this is a confirmation, as well as all of this. Obviously the wick popping up into it. Yeah, you broke above, came back down, but tested it. But honestly, really, because you think about what price is doing here. This is a 4 hour chart, so these are 4 hour candles. But it ran, right? It's running all the way up. Now, on the way there, right, there was a 4 hour session, half of a day session that pulled back and consolidated. And, when we see that here as well. So that tells me big time that, hey, this looks good as the, as where the zone placement should be. So, and it's a lot of times it's as simple as that, guys. With practice, your zones will, really start to hit home, and that's when they're great. Not all tickers, behave, but a lot of them do. So, all right, I want to see what that looks like, and I don't mind going back in time. I almost prefer to go back in time first, or not even first, but just want to make sure. Like I don't want to just pick off the most current price with these zones at least, because what's really worked for me in the past is when I back check it, right, or it's basically like back testing it to a degree. But I look back in historically with the charts, and if it interacts with areas there, even if current price is not perfect on it, what happens is what we see is after a big push up, the pullback, right, will come right to it. So it's just that's happened so many times that what it does is it just kind of confirms to me that these, there are areas of interest that are reused, or whatever the reason is, it's picked back up over time. So yeah, stick with what makes the most sense for the whole chart, right? Obviously you want current price to line up. Like if it's way off, then yeah, I'm not gonna, then you have to make an adjustment. But yeah, if it's not way off, then use what matches up the most. So I like when we see this where we have a big push up and then that pullback, that first bull or bearish candle, and it can be the opposite too. It doesn't have to be a bearish candle. But But that initial one that pulls back and bounces, that I like that to use that as a zone. And it kind of confirms over here. I like that. This makes sense to me because we're dropping hard, and buyers are starting to pick it up. Before you get to these zones, you're gonna see buyers or sellers, depending on which side you're on, ready, right? And anybody that caught this drop is starting to take profits basically, right? Starting to cover that short. So it's not surprising that we kind of bounced ahead of time, consolidated, and then got the drop through. Maybe this line could go up a little bit higher, like to match with these over here. It really is. You can get pretty picky with it, and granted, yeah, it does. It could make a difference, especially when you zoom in. But don't spend too much time on it. So you can always go back and adjust it. Yeah, look at this too, right? So I mean, we did dip through it more, obviously, but nice consolidation here. Same here where it drops through, but it comes back up. It's looking okay for now. Let's see. Yeah, what I don't like about this zone is how big it is. So. Yeah, I like that better. And you can see the wick here interacts with it, right? It lines up beautifully here. Yeah, this stuff stops short, but again, I've seen that enough times. It's not surprising. And again, if you were trading this, intraday, you're still going to be looking for probably on the hourly and the 5-minute, demand zones inside of this big, candle here where it drops down and obviously they find some buyers. So, there's probably a smaller time frame level that matches right in here. That makes a lot of sense. Plus you have, what's that? That's right. It's coming into the morning, or no, that is afternoon. Yeah, so that is intraday. That was the big drop off the morning, right? And then get into the afternoon. So this is after hours kind of chopping, and then at 5 a.m. the next morning it falls off. So interesting. Anyways, yeah. So I like tightening that up, buttoning it up. This one here, might as well just stick with this. Let's make it match this bullish candle here. And I'm sure I know I can say for almost positively, there is probably a smaller zone in between here. And again, if you get on the hourly, you can maybe you'll say, hey, there's some interaction here. That's something we may add in the future. I'll make note of it if we do, or if I do adjust it. But for now, it's nice. Again, I don't want to overcrowd it. So it's one of the reasons I decided to redo it here. All right, so we have that bottom range here. Let's see. Yeah, so obviously something going on in here, right? We have probably a couple different zones, and again, you could pick a lot of areas, but it's really interesting. I want to find the things that single out, right? And what I'm seeing is this here, and then obviously this here on the way down. But again, you don't know if that like went through it too far and retested it, or what the deal is. So I'm kind of liking this. So let's snap a line on that. Oops, not that one. Even though it does line up, but yeah, it's not bad, but it's not my favorite either. Yeah, let's just do this. See this bullish candle here? It's not only is it at the top of a run, nice run, right? Beautiful run, but when it gets there, you can see the wick kind of pushes up, pushes down, ends up closing bullish course, but it's indecisive. So I like grabbing the body of that candle, and that's good enough for me. Like, that's it, perfect. All right, so when I see this interaction here, let's try to maybe put something on this. No. And again, I don't use the wicks as much. I try not to. But with that said, I mean, it's not I want to find a body that it matches up with, and then hey, if it, confirms that a lot of times is when a wick, like this wick, pushes right up to it and rejects. And this one, you know, might even be needed to be moved up, but let's see what happens when we put it on that wick. Or, you know, if you snap it on the body of this bullish candle here, let's see what it looks like over here. Yeah, and see how it starts to line up here with this and this wick, you know, on this bullish candle here. Kind of just comes down and touches it. You know, you find, and again, there's, I mean, this wick did not, this wick didn't, you know, so it's not like it's got to be perfect, but just make it make sense. And again, just give yourself some time with practice drawing these generalized areas. You will find a pattern that will start to pay, because the reality is that if this drops off, right, I expect it, if it falls through this zone, which it may, I mean, obviously it looks like it's wicked through a few times. But again, my general target would be down here at 1800. You know, it makes perfect sense. Not only is it, you know, so I can kind of just pick this out, and I didn't even realize that was, this zone here is right, you know, basically encompasses 1800. You know, it surrounds 1800, so it makes perfect sense that there would be a zone somewhere around there. So, yeah, and I'm sure there's a little zone in between here, but again, I'll leave that up to you guys, and you know, if I change something, I will obviously let you guys know. But you know, I think for now I like the space. So let's go up, find a couple more up top. To me, this is pretty straightforward. This type of interaction is perfect, and I know there's some here, there's some chop. But from my experience, if you can find something as direct as this, and look, wick came right up and touched it here, right? You can see here where price pushed down, it tried bouncing, closed above, and then we dropped some more, but closed inside. And you finally got that nice 4-hour close down here. Next session tried to retest, and then obviously failed. Price came down to, you know, what is that? Right over 1900, so 1914 or 15. Okay, so that's that. Let's see. We have one more over here. I mean, there's obviously some stuff here, but I may leave that. I'm not, you know, if we're going to be bullish, again, I'll be updating these charts. And what I'm going to do is just delete the old one. And that way, you know, when you go to that ticker, right, and the top charts channel, all that, you know, if you go there, it's just going to be, you know, current supply and demand zones and these regular zones, right? So whatever, you know, it'll have them divided up like you know, you guys have been seeing, and whatever's there is current. So, you know, I don't mind if people ask questions still, of course, but hopefully this will help out with a lot of the, you know, the simpler questions that really, if it was more organized like we're trying to do now, I think it would, you know, a lot of those questions wouldn't matter. You know, we could be talking about the specifics of why, you know, this is a certain way and not another, instead of just like, hey, which zone is which, you know, what time frame, what candle. So yeah, anyways, I'm kind of excited about it. Let's do this. Let's just look and see what it looks like. Yeah, I'm good with that for now. Obviously, there's going to be something up here, and we'll deal with that when that time comes. So I actually like this a lot. All right, guys, that was it for this. I will do some more recording as I'll do kind of cut this up into videos, but hopefully that was helpful. You know, going over the regular white zones. There is another video that we recorded a couple months ago, I think now, doing Netflix zones, and they have been spot on. They're the same zones that I'm still using to this day. So yeah, check that out for sure too if you want to learn how to draw these regular zones.